The agenda, the folks that you will see, I will represent the kind of breadth and strength of the Republican Party. So everybody please take your seats. Let me just say something, if I can get everybody's attention. I'm just going to say this very briefly. We're gathered here at a time that we're hurting, that our brothers and sisters and friends and family in Israel have suffered kind of the greatest devastation, loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust. And so as we have this gathering in which we want to leave here with an energy to move forward to a positive tomorrow, I just want to acknowledge for all of us that we know that we are hurting, but the Jewish people survive, and we move forward to better days. So let's kind of acknowledge the pain, but then lift ourselves up to the hope. It's very, very important. I would like everybody at this point to stand for the national anthems. Please stand. Ladies and gentlemen, now more than ever, we stand with Israel. We are now going to begin the Shabbat service. I'm going to ask Elliot Lauer if Elliot can come forward. This is very important. Not everybody here is Orthodox. Okay? Our Orthodox Jewish brethren do not use a microphone. So Elliot's going to do this without a microphone. So I do ask that everybody please be quiet so we can participate and share this special blessing at this special time together. And so with that, if Elliot will please come forward, we will keep our voices low, and he will speak without the microphone.
We bless the sons and daughters, our children who are elsewhere. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yair Adonai panav alecha v'kanecha, Yisa Adonai panav alecha v'yasim lacha shalom. May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift his face unto you and give you the peace, the harmony, the wholeness that is shalom. And let us all together say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. That's it. Yeah, Shabbat Shalom. Yes. The most amazing thing in the Jewish religion is you can make a prayer and not even have to say it yourself, and you can be yotzis. You can have somebody in mind. You can do the prayer for other people. So of course, we're going to make the blessing on the wine tonight for everybody in the room, for the soldiers, both American and Israeli, for the hostages, and for all the politicians that are here, that are now in their room practicing saying Am Yisrael Chai. יום השישי ויחלו השמיים בארץ וכל צבאם ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו ויהו שבו ואלוהים לעשות סברים מרנן ורבנן ורבותיי אוי ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידש מצוותיו ורצה בנו ושבת קודשו ביאהבה ורצון הנחילה זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש זכר לציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו כי הקדשת מכל עולמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Shabbat Shalom, Mashiach energy for the whole weekend, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Governor Joe Lombardo.
Well, good evening, everyone. What a great honor to host you here in the great state of Nevada. And what a great honor to host you here at your annual conference. I truly appreciate the invite and the opportunity to speak about the Jewish community and what we're doing here in the state of Nevada, and to talk to you about the landscape that's going on in the government here in the state of Nevada. We welcome you with open arms, because here in Nevada, we unequivocally stand with Israel and with the Jewish community. So that probably bears repeating. Here in Nevada, we stand unequivocally and unapologetically with Israel and with the Jewish community. As you well know, the past 20 days have been a period of immeasurable tragedy and grief. Immediately following the attacks, I spoke at Temple Beth Shalom here in Las Vegas to address the Jewish community, alongside Sheriff Kevin Mayhill of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. So before I make any further comment, please a round of applause for all the law enforcement officials here. They're here purposely to ensure that everybody has a safe and wonderful conference. As I said there, I fully support Israel, and I'll always fight to ensure the safety and security of Jewish Nevadans as your governor. You can clap. As Israel now exercises its right to defend itself from these vicious attacks, may we continue to pray for Israel, for the brave soldiers of the IDF, and for Israeli families who have lost their cherished loved ones. Together, we must stand strong, united against hate, and in full support of Israel. So while I'm here with so many Republican leaders, I also want to take this opportunity to share a little bit about what's going on here in Nevada. As many of you know, Nevada made national headlines last year as we flipped the governorship from blue to red. I have to smile about that because that means that I flipped it. Right? So While we were able to secure key victories last November, we still have Democratic majorities in the Nevada State Senate and Assembly. But I know I can count on support from you in changing that landscape. So earlier, Governor Sanders and I spoke to a small group of conference attendees, and there's quite often a question presented to myself, and I'm sure to her also, significant policy measures and laws and executive orders that are presented that will change what we're trying to achieve as the Republican Party. But unfortunately, or fortunately for her, she has a supermajority in both parties. In Nevada, I have a supermajority in the opposite party. So quite often I spend half my time saying, well, how come you're not doing what Sarah's doing? That's exactly the reason why. So, but with your help, I anticipate we're going to be able to change the landscape here in the state of Nevada. So to give you a sense of my priorities and what we accomplished in the last legislative session, even though we had a supermajority on the other side of the aisle, we were able to accomplish 75 vetoes. And you're like, so what does that mean, Governor? That means I set a record for setting vetoes. And that was as a result of bad legislation presented by the opposite party. And so my priorities as the governor for the state of Nevada was obviously to diversify upon the economy, have a stable tax environment, stable regulatory environment so businesses can come to Nevada and thrive and expand and be successful, to include education. Every Republican governor in the United States wants to improve education. And as a result, I injected $11 billion into the education budget, the largest budget funding in the history of Nevada. Additionally, school choice. School choice is always the subject when we talk about education, because we know the positive results and how it makes a difference. So as a result, at this last legislative session, we were able to get a modicum of school choice changes presented. We were able to continue to support voucher / opportunity scholarships. We were able to expand upon charter schools, but numerous of my items that I presented in the school choice never received a hearing or a vote. So we have to change the dynamic in the landscape, as I mentioned earlier, in order to have a positive effect of what we're trying to achieve in education. Additionally, for those you may not know, I had a 35-year job as a law enforcement official. And here in the state of Nevada, I was the sheriff for the last 8 years. So as you can imagine, it was the third leg of the stool in my platform of success in changing the quality of life in the criminal dynamic, the criminal element that we're trying to achieve as a society. Previously, the legislature and the previous administration made it easier to be a criminal in the state of Nevada. And we all know the benefit of that or the detriment of that. So as a result, we brought forward significant legislation to prevent the ability for criminals to be successful. And that was predominantly in the domestic violence field, repeat offenders, and drug / fentanyl fields. So I think we achieved what we wanted to in that, and as a result, crime is dropping dramatically here in the state of Nevada. So in closing, I'm excited and eager to work with what we've done and move forward at this point. And I look forward to working with you and the Republican Jewish Coalition over the next several years to advance our shared priorities. So thank you for having me tonight. The RJC is always welcome in Nevada. And it's an honor to host you in our state. Go Nevada. So when my fellow governor, Sarah Sanders, comes up here and starts talking about Arkansas, remember where you're at. Everybody enjoy yourselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressman David Kustoff.
Well, Shabbat Shalom. You know, before I started working on my remarks about 3 weeks ago, more than 3 weeks ago, they would have been different remarks than that I'm going to give tonight. You know, 3 weeks ago tonight, you had a number of American Jewish people who went to bed as progressives, and they woke up the next morning as conservatives. Ladies and gentlemen, it truly matters who governs, and it matters who leads. Leadership absolutely matters. You know, you think about this tragic and barbaric attack that Hamas perpetrated on Israel. And you, again, with leadership that matters and who governs matters, you think about projecting that leadership, peace through strength. You think about leadership that doesn't coddle or try to appease a nation like Iran. And when you do that, you send signals to the enemy. I think about 1 week before the attack, the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, said, quote, "The Middle East today is quieter today than it's been in 2 decades. Leadership does matter. I think about this past week, we had a speaker election in the House of Representatives. We elected a really good man in Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House. And by the way, tomorrow when you meet him, I really think you're going to like him. But Speaker Johnson said right before he was elected that the very first piece of legislation that he wanted moved out of the House of Representatives was a resolution supporting Israel. And if I can, yes. Here's what the resolution is: standing with Israel as it defends itself against the barbaric war launched by Hamas and other terrorists. Now, there's good news and bad news. The good news is that this resolution passed the House of Representatives with 412 votes. That's good news. And ladies and gentlemen, that vote sends a message to the nation and to the rest of the world that we support Israel, the United States supports Israel, and we condemn anti-terrorism. Now, the bad news is that 16 members of the House of Representatives either voted no or they voted present. And if they vote present, then that's really a no vote. Among those no votes are Cori Bush, Alexandria Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib. Now, I'm convinced that they are outliers. But ladies and gentlemen, they are outliers with very loud voices. And as we know, those voices are growing in this nation. So it does matter who leads, and it matters who governs. You know, before I came up, I was reading my weekly reports that my staff prepares for me. And my district director, a guy named Ed Jackson, prepared a report, and he had a note in the report And it said, Congressman, I met somebody named Eugene Brandt, who is the head pastor of Fellowship Baptist Church in Jackson, Tennessee. And he said he wanted me to tell you, and I wrote this down in quotes, Israel has many friends. I am one of them. And that says a lot. When I ran for Congress for the first time, my first election in 2016, my district, the 8th Congressional District of Tennessee, it's parts of Memphis where the headquarters of FedEx and International Paper are. We can applaud for Memphis, yes. And then the rest of the district is very rural, it's very agricultural, and very evangelical. So, you know, that's right. When I would campaign door to door, knock on doors, you know what one of the very first questions I would get when I would go door to door would be, where do you go to church? And I think they would expect me to say Bellevue Baptist Church or First Evangelical, but I would tell them without batting an eye, Temple Israel. Now here I am, I'm a Jewish lawyer from Memphis, I'm a former federal prosecutor, but the reaction that I would get when I would tell them Temple Israel, the reaction I would get is, we love Israel. What can we do to support Israel? And so it really does matter who leads and who governs. You know, every 4 years, somebody like me comes up before you and says something like, this is the most important election of our lifetimes. Ladies and gentlemen, 2024 is going to be the most important election of your lifetime. And we know that. From President to the Senate to the United States House of Representatives. But I'm going to tell you something. Without the help of the Republican Jewish Coalition, without your help, people like me would not be in the House of Representatives. We thank you. And I really want to give special kudos and applause to the leaders of the RJC, Senator Norm Coleman and Executive Director Matt Brooks, who do a terrific job. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been helpful to me. You've been helpful to Max Miller, my other Republican Jewish cohort in the House of Representatives. We want to grow our coalition in the House. We'll do it with you. May God bless you. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much. God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senator Rick Scott.
First, it's nice to be back here tonight. It's unfortunate that we're doing it when we've had this horrific tragedy in Israel. The terror and devastation unleashed on Israelis by Iran-backed Hamas terrorists have rightly horrified the world. Innocent families were murdered in their homes. Children were beheaded. Girls were raped. Whole families were burned alive. An elderly wheelchair-bound woman, later identified as a Holocaust survivor, was brutally dragged through the streets of Gaza. Children who witnessed murders of their parents have been kidnapped and are being held hostage by Hamas. Hundreds were mowed down at a music festival. Thousands are dead. At least 33 Americans are dead and 10 are held hostage. The atrocities are too numerous to fully recount, but the images we have seen will never leave our memories. In 2019, my wife Ann and I had the opportunity to visit Kfar Aza, one of the kibbutz that was the site to a complete massacre. As we watched the early reports, we became worried about what was going to happen to all the people we had met there. It's only about a half a mile from Gaza. And when we heard the news that it was the site of one of the most horrific and barbaric activities, our hearts just sank. We did learn that Shen, the lady that had led our tour then, was out of the country and was alive. So we were able to talk with her and hear about exactly what happened there and about some of the atrocities and what happened to the people that she loved and lived with. This week I had the opportunity to meet with some of the survivors. Met with a young man that was holed up in his safe room for hours, and then he finally found out that his parents were kidnapped. Met with a young lady that invited a whole bunch of her friends because she'd been to this festival before, to the festival, and now those individuals are dead. Another couple of her friends are kidnapped. Not since the Holocaust has the world witnessed such a brutal attack on the Jewish people. I think we have to keep repeating this so no one ever forgets. We have to really let that sink in and never let people forget. It's 2023, and it sure looks like history was repeating itself. I got moms in my state calling to say they're scared to death of their kids going to preschool. They want their kids to have a Jewish education, but they're scared their toddlers will be targeted. If parents don't feel safe sending their kids to Jewish day schools, they're going to close. We cannot let that happen. I've talked to a lot of people that are afraid to go to Chabbads and synagogues for services. If we stop having these services, where is the Jewish people going to go? We can't let that happen. We've watched Jewish kids in our colleges be targeted with pro-Hamas rallies. We saw what happened at Cooper Union, where we had the Jewish students stuck in the library where the individuals outside were chanting. This is sick. It's no way for anybody to have to live. When our daughters were in their teenage years, my wife and I took them to Auschwitz and Birkenau so they could understand exactly what happened during the Holocaust. We want to make sure our kids understand the horrors and make sure history doesn't repeat itself. Unfortunately, we have many people around the world who simply hate Jews and want to pretend the Holocaust never happened. A few years ago, I had to fight to get a principal in Florida fired because he said, quote, "I can't say the Holocaust is a factual historical event." You can't imagine that happening in this country. We have to ask ourselves, why is this happening? Of course, we all have figured out as we get older, there's pure evil in the world. And we know there are terrorists who want Israel and all Jewish people wiped off the face of the earth. We also have people who have been elected in our country to represent us, are paid with our tax dollars, who are saying the most insane and anti-Semitic things. Ilhan Omar, it's, quote, scary to work with members of Congress who condemn Hamas' attack on Israel. Talib, quote, I'm ashamed of members of Congress who refuse to call for a ceasefire. After she repeatedly repeats the false claim that Israel bombed the hospital. She says, condemning Israel, we are literally watching people commit genocide, and we stand by and say nothing. How about Obama? Quote, it means acknowledging the Palestinians have also lived in disputed territories for generations, that many of them were not only displaced when Israel was formed, but continue to be forcibly displaced by a settler movement that too often has received tacit and explicit support from the Israeli government, the Palestinian leaders who have been willing to make concessions for a two-state solution and too often too little to show for their efforts. Now, we all know the Squad and many Democrats hate Israel, no surprise there. But our former president, he doesn't understand the fabric of this country. He remains a candle in the wind, saying he's 100% for Israel while making excuses for terrorists like Hamas. And he'll never do anything to call out Hamas and all these terrorists. He's too afraid. Now let's take Biden. He's just following the path Obama wandered aimlessly, supporting everything and nothing. Everything except our freedoms, our nation, democracy, and Israel. And it's the failed actions of Obama that have been continued by the Biden administration today. The Biden administration policy is rooted in the false belief that in the West, if we just keep throwing our tax dollars to Gaza, that if we free up $6 billion of money for Iran, if we release the sanctions, then all will be well. They believe if the U.S., Europeans, and others will give the mullahs in Iran enough money, relief with money and diplomacy, the regime will stop chanting, "Death to America, death to Zionist occupiers." Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan was a disgrace. And now we're seeing equipment that was left in Afghanistan used by Hamas. Our enemies want to harm, isolate, and weaken America and our allies. We've got a wide open southern border where we know terrorists have come across, and we don't know how many people have come across here to hurt our country. People are illegally walking across the border, and they're able to get on an airplane and sit right next to us. We have a president that can barely talk about American hostages and the Americans that died. Instead of sitting in the Situation Room figuring out how he's going to get our hostages back, he goes to the beach in Delaware. When he addressed the nation, he mentioned Ukraine 23 times, but hostages only 2. In his 15-minute speech, he only talked about American hostages 15 seconds and 0 seconds on a plan to bring our hostages back. We put out a picture of all the hostages outside our office, and 2 of the families gave me this. Their sons are fighting for the IDF. They grew up in this country. They went to fight the IDF, and they've been kidnapped. Biden's State Department has acknowledged that money that we give to Gaza goes to Hamas. So last week, with the support of my Republican colleagues, I went down to the Senate floor and said, we had a bill, no money for Hamas. Chuck Schumer, the Democrats, blocked it. The U.S., we have no choice. We have to support Israel and every Jew in this country and every Jew we can around the world. Biden just put an unserious proposal together that tied Israeli aid to money for sanctuary cities. That can't happen. We need to do the money for Israel right now, and we can. I've talked to a lot of people that said this is the scariest time of their lifetime, and it looks really grim. But we can change all this. It's all up to us. The people in this room can change the direction of this country, and I believe you will. I believe we will have a new president, a Republican president. I believe we're going to have a Republican majority in the Senate and a bigger Republican majority in the House. And just think what we had with the last president, the most pro-Israel president in the history of this country. You know, some people have different opinions about Donald Trump, but he did more for Israel than any president of the country. We defeated ISIS. We moved the embassy to Jerusalem, its rightful home. And he held vicious Iranian murderers like Soleimani accountable for the American lives and Israeli lives they killed. Our southern border was secured, and we had peace through the Abraham Accords. Since Biden took office, he's done everything he can to destroy the peace of the Middle East and the opportunity Israel had to make peace with so many countries over there. Now, here's what we need to do. We all have to stand up in this country for our Jewish neighbors. So number one, in every race, not just federal races, but in every race, We need to be asking the people running, are you going to support the Jews in this country, and are you going to support Israel? If they don't, they shouldn't be elected. Number two, we should expect all of our elected leaders to make sure our Jewish day schools, our synagogues, our Chabbads are all safe. When I was governor of Florida, and it's continued since I left, we provided more money for security at our Jewish day schools, and we provided security when our synagogues and Chabbads needed it. We have to keep doing that. So we have every opportunity to change the direction. I just want to thank Matt Brooks and Norm Coleman for what you do each and every day. You do a great job. I want to highlight our Florida guy, Matt Bogdanoff, where I don't know where he's sitting. He does a great job. Here's a couple other things we can do. I was at a dinner in Houston a week or so ago with Larry Levine, and he just told me the story that he heard that the union at Starbucks was supporting Hamas. So I had not heard it, so I put out that we should all boycott Starbucks. About an hour later. So they called back and said, we don't do that. We don't put out statements. So we just started calling everybody that could around the country, and we started this boycott, and by 7 o'clock that night, Starbucks changed. We all have to do that. I want to thank Davis Polk, and I want to thank Sweet Greens for saying they're not going to hire those students that want to support Hamas. I want to thank the donors at Harvard, the University of Penn, that said they're not going to give any more money. So we all have a role to play to make sure we support Israel and we support the Jewish people in our states. I will do everything I can. If there's anything anybody needs, I have a great team in my state of Florida. We have 9 offices. I have a great team in D.C. If you have any ideas of things I should work on, let me know. And it's great to be here. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Words could ever say, and what my heart has heard, well, it takes my breath away. I can't hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, you've got the look of love is on your face. But look, the time can't erase. Be mine tonight. Let this be just the start of so many nights like this. Let's take a lover's vow and then seal it with a kiss. I can't hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, don't ever go. Don't ever go. I love you so.
Once in a lifetime, a man knows a moment, one wonderful moment, when fate takes his hand. And this is my moment, my once in a lifetime, when I can explore a new and exciting land. For once in my lifetime, you know I feel like a giant. I soar like an eagle, as though I had wings. For this is my moment, my destiny calls me, and though it may be just once in my lifetime, I'm gonna do great things. Yep. Just once in a lifetime, a man knows a moment, one wonderful moment, when fate grabs his hand. This is my moment, my once in a lifetime, where I can explore a new and exciting land. Oh, once in my lifetime, you know I feel like a giant. I'm gonna soar like an eagle, as though I had wings. Oh, this is my moment, my destiny calls me, and though it may be just once in my lifetime, I'm gonna do great things.
Unforgettable, that's what you are.
Unforgettable, though near or far.
Like a song of love that clings to me, how the thought of you does things to me never before has someone been more
unforgettable in every way,
and forevermore. That's how you'll stay.
That's how you'll stay.
That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable
Thinks that I am unforgettable too. Someone been more unforgettable in every way, and forevermore. That's how you'll stay.
That's how you'll stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible
that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too.
Oh, the games people play now, every night and every day now, never meaning what they say now, never saying what they mean, while they while away the hours in their ivory tower, till they're covered up with flowers in the back of a black limousine. Though we make one another cry, break our hearts and we say goodbye, cross our hearts and we hope to die, said the other was to blame. Neither one will ever give in, though we gaze on an ache again, thinking about the things that might have been, and it's a dirty, rotten shame. People walking up to you, singing glory, hallelujah, then they try to sock it to you in the name of the Lord. They're gonna teach you how to meditate, read your horoscope and cheat your fate, and furthermore to hell with hate. Come on, get on board. Hey, look around and tell me what you see, what's happening to you and me. God grant me the serenity to remember who I am. Oh, 'cause you've given up your sanity, all your pride and your vanity, turn your back on humanity, and you don't give a la-di-da-da-di-da-da, la-da-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, talking about you and me.
Someday, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. But you're lovely, with your smile so warm and your cheek so soft. There is nothing for me but to love you, just the way you look tonight. With each word, your tenderness grows, tearing my fear apart. And that laugh that wrinkles your nose touches my foolish heart. Lovely, never, never change. Keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it? 'Cause I love you just the way you look tonight.
am sitting on top of the world, just rolling along, just rolling along. And I am quitting the blues of the world, just singing a song, just singing a song. Glory, hallelujah. I just phoned the parson. Hey, Pa, get ready to call. Just like Humpty Dumpty, I'm gonna fall. I am sitting on top of the world, just rolling along, just rolling along. Ah, go get him, Billy. Glory, hallelujah, I just phoned the parson. Hey, Pa, get ready to call. Just like a Humpty Dumpty, I'm about to fall. I am sitting on the top of this world, just rolling along, just rolling along. I am sitting on top of the world, singing a song.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars, and let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Song, let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Out of the tree of life, I just
beyond the shore, we'll kiss just as before. Happy we'll be beyond the sea, and never again I'll go sailing. My heart will lead me there soon. We'll meet, I know we'll meet beyond the shore. just as before. Happy we'll be beyond the sea, and never again I'll go sailing. No more sailing, so long sailing, bye-bye sailing. Move on out, Captain.
Tall and tan and young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking, and when she passes, each one she passes goes, ah. When she walks, she's like a samba that swings so cool and sways so gentle that when she passes, each one she passes goes, I watch her so sadly. How can I tell her I love her? Yes, I would give my heart gladly, but each day when she walks to the sea, she looks straight ahead, not at me. Tall and tan and young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking, and when she passes I smile, but she doesn't see, doesn't see.
Olha que coisa mais linda, mais cheia de graça, ela menina que vem, que passa, num doce balanço, caminho do mar. Moça do corpo dourado, do sol de Ipanema, o seu balançado parece um poema, é a coisa mais linda que eu já vi passar.
שנינו הפכים, אני דג ואת נחש, שנינו מתהפכים, כל הגוף שלי מותש, כמו אייל אל הגולן, על ההר כמו אברהם, בין טיפות הטל מחפש לי דרך, אפילו דודו נעצב כשאת טסה, והחלל שבי ריק כאילו נסה, אני נלחם באריות, אני מופסה, ואין שום כוח שיוריד לי את המסה, רק תגידי וארוץ אל תוך הגוב, דבש והכברת אל העוקץ אל הטוב, כשאני מרגיש קרוב, את עושה מתוק כמו בוב שמר לי, בלילות קרים את חסרה, צובעת את השמש באדום, מצייר אותך מולי היום, שנינו זה עידן, הפרי שלנו עוד יניב, למענך אכתוב בסתיו, מהגפן באביב, אפילו דודו נעצב כשאת טסה, והחלל שבי ריק כאילו נסה, אני נלחם באריות, אני מופסה, ואין שום כוח שיוריד לי את המסה, רק תגידי וארוץ אל תוך הגוב, דש והכברת אל העוקץ אל הטוב, כשאני מרגיש קרוב, את עושה מתוק כמו בוב שמר לי, בלילות קרים את חסרה, צובעת את השמש באדום, מצייר אותך מולי היום, את עושה מתוק כמו בוב שמר לי, בלילות קרים את חסרה, צובעת את השמש באדום, מצייר אותך מולי היום. מסמדר שיר שיביא אותך אליי. אל תדברי על אריק בסיני. איך את עושה מתוק כמו בוב שמר לי בלילות קרים, מה את חסרה?
כמה דקות להיזכר במקומות שאז היינו ילדים, לא פחדנו סתם לחיות בלי המינוס הצרות, בלי לתלות את התקוות כמו כביסה על חבלים, כמו איזה שני משוגעים בחוף. שמרנו רגעים בלב, שתינו את הנוף, ואת היית יפה כמו פרח שאסור היה לקטוף. רציתי רק לקטוף אותך, רציתי לקטוף כמו איזה שני משוגעים בחוף. שמרנו רגעים בלב, שתינו את הנוף, ואת היית יפה כמו פרח שאסור היה לקטוף. רציתי רק לקטוף אותך, רציתי לקטוף כמו איזה שני משוגעים. רחוק ברגליים יחפות מזיכרונות ואכזבות שאז רצינו לשחרר, כמעט ויתרנו על עצמנו, נברח רחוק מהשגרה כמו אז שהסתפקנו באושר הפשוט, כמו איזה שני משוגעים בחוף. שמרנו רגעים בלב, שתינו את הנוף, ואת היית יפה כמו פרח שאסור היה לקטוף. רציתי רק לקטוף אותך, רציתי לקטוף כמו איזה שני משוגעים בחוף. שמרנו רגעים בלב, שתינו את הנוף, ואת היית יפה כמו פרח שאסור היה לקטוף. רציתי רק לקטוף אותך, רציתי לקטוף כמו איזה שני משוגעים. כמו איזה שני משוגעים בחוף. שמרנו רגעים בלב, שתינו את הנוף, ואת היית יפה כמו פרח שאסור היה לקטוף. רציתי רק לקטוף אותך, רציתי לקטוף כמו איזה שני משוגעים.
כל הזמן הזה כל יום מחדש, כל הזמן הזה הייתי לבד. כל הזמן הזה הייתי לבד.
תגיד, אתה זוכר את החבר'ה? זוכר את הדירה? זוכר את הצחוקים? הודעת לי שאתה מאוהב בי אחרי 2.5 ימים בקושי. בחדרי חדרים בכינו, בחוץ צחקנו עד השמיים. אמרת שיש בי ברכה ונשקת לי את הידיים. אמרת אין חברים בעולם הזה, וואלה קדם לאדם זאב. איך הכנסת אותי לעולם שלך, איך אהבת אותי עד כאב. הרבה יותר מכל השרלות האלה שהיית איתן לפניי. זוכר? יפו דלת שמאלה, ים של דמעות בשתי עיניי. אני לא יודעת מה, אני לא יודעת למה,
אבל כל הזמן הזה הייתי לבד. כל הזמן הזה כל יום מחדש. כל הזמן הזה הייתי לבד. כל הזמן הזה
זוכר ישיבות על הדשא בסירקין, סכמח בגשם לאוטו, מבסוטים מכל מה שיש לנו, תמיד מכחישים את כל מה שלא טוב. אני הייתי זינה הנסיכה הלוחמת, אתה היית אבי נעלבי, הייתי שומעת את נינה סימון שרה You don't know what love is. כשניסיתי להשתנות בשבילך ולהיות אשת חלומותיך, כשרצית קלאסה הייתי ביונסה, רצית שכונה הייתי פרחה, כשחלמנו לטוס בעולם אם רק היינו שורדים משברים, כשסיפרת איך אמא שלך עברה מבית חולים לבית חולים לבית חולים. אני לא יודעת מה, אני לא יודעת למה, אבל כל הזמן הזה הייתי לבד. כל הזמן הזה, כל יום מחדש. כל הזמן הזה הייתי לבד. כל הזמן הזה. תגיד, אתה זוכר את הטוב? זוכר חיבוקים, זוכר נשיקות, כי כן היו רגעים, דקות נדירות של דפיקות לב ותשוקות. תגיד עכשיו דוגרי, זוכר את הקריזות, זוכר את הריבים, זוכר שהלכנו ברחוב כועסים מסתכלים בקינה על זוגות אוהבים, זוכר את המילים הטובות? איך קיווית לשמוע תודה? זוכר שבכיתי בשקט בסתר פינה של החדר ואיש לא ידע? הם מדברים איתך עליי, כל המשפחה וכל החברים שלך. אני יודעת שאהבת אותי, אהבת כמו שלא אהבת בחיים שלך, אבל החיים חזקים מאיתנו ונתת לגשר ליפול. דיברת כמו ילד כועס ודפוק שהיית קנאי וחסר ביטחון בגדול. אין אמא ואבא, אין חשק לכלום, רגנג'ה וטבק, ואני מתארגנת כל ערב על שחטה כאילו החיים שלי סבבה. חיפשתי את הדרך לחתוך ממך מבלי לצאת הפוגעת. זוכר התקפי חרדה ולילות לבנים שחשבתי שאני משתגעת. אהבתי אותך בכל רגע נתון, גם שעשית לי דווקא. ריפאתי את הלב השבור שלך ואתה בתמורה נעלמת. אני לא יודעת מה, אני לא יודעת למה, אבל כל הזמן הזה הייתי לבד. כל הזמן הזה כל יום מחדש. כל הזמן הזה הייתי לבד. כל הזמן הזה כל יום מחדש.
תעשה את זה שוב, רק שהפעם המיקרופון יהיה דלוק, לוק, 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 לוק.
פויה, ילדה רעה של טיק טוק בוי לבויה, לא מתאמצת, לא
כמה זה לחוץ אז למה אם סתלבט בקיבוץ בחצי מחיר. אני לא עובד קשה בשביל להיות עשיר, לא מחפש כפיים אם זה לא בסופה.
עד שמצאתי מה חיפשתי קצת הרגשתי תקוע, כמו שליח שלא קולט שבקיבוץ אין רחוב.
אתה רואה פח? יש פה במפר? וואו, אתה לא קרוב.
עד שמשהו נפתח בי, לא ידעתי שחיפשתי הזקנה על קלנועית שתצא עליי.
בחור, אתה טס כמו חללית.
וואלה, פה זה לא מרוץ, פה לא צריך ללחוץ, פה לא נורא אם לא יהיה חרוז. ניסיתי אז לפרוח בבטון המזוין, לקח לי זמן לגלות שהבטון עושה לי פריחה. לקח לי זמן לענות לכל מי שאמר
שמע, אתה גר רחוק.
נכון אחי, גר רחוק ממך.
כמה זה לחוץ אז למה אם סתלבט בקיבוץ בחצי מחיר. אני לא עובד קשה בשביל להיות עשיר, לא מחפש כפיים אם זה לא בסוף השיר.
והיו ימים הייתי קצת עכבר העיר, אחותי זה השביל של האופניים שם. בסוף אפילו לא עכבר הכפר, סתם בן אדם שאוהב לגור בחור ולקרוא לו מרכז העולם. פריפריה, סרט מלחמה ובית שאן אימפריה, רמקולים על שפת כנרת, טבריה, אחלה צחוקים או טרגדיה. ניסמן, נראה לי איזה ילד שינה את הערך של אסי בוויקיפדיה.
עזוב, ג'ימבו שחרר.
אל הגליל והבקעה, לערבה ולגולן, משפחות עולות בסופשים כמו לכותל, חלומות מתוקים על שדות ירוקים, אבל כל הדרכים מובילות לחדר אוכל.
כמה זה לחוץ אז למה אם סתלבט בקיבוץ בחצי מחיר. אני לא עובד קשה בשביל להיות עשיר, לא מחפש כפיים אם זה לא בסופה. כמה זה לחוץ אז למה אם בקיבוץ בחצי מחיר. אני לא עובד קשה בשביל להיות עשיר, לא מחפש כפיים.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Governor Sarah Sanders.
Good evening. Nothing like being the speaker at the end of a long dinner. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. The amazing team at RJC really knows how to put on an event. I've been to this conference several times before, and I think this may be the best year they've ever had. And I guess it's only appropriate that they know how to put on a show, given that we're standing in Las Vegas right now. In fact, being here in Sin City reminds me of a trip I took with my kids earlier this summer. They're 8, 10, and 11. And yes, we do chaos at our house extremely well. Brian and I thought it would be a great idea to have our kids tag along for a trip to Paris that I took for economic development. I knew I'd be spending the bulk of my time on that trip in meetings. So as soon as we stepped off the plane, we took the family to a little sidewalk cafe. I thought there's no better way to take in and experience Paris for the first time than sitting at this little cafe watching people come and go. As we sat down and I was starting to take in the sights, I looked over my 8-year-old's shoulder and saw X-rated store after X-rated store. I nudged my husband to get his attention so that he could see what I was seeing over George's shoulder. Instead of people watching like we had planned, we spent the rest of the meal trying to keep our kids' attention so they wouldn't see what was directly behind them. We thought we'd made it until the very end and we were getting up to leave, and my youngest started pulling on my arm. He said, "Look, Mom, can we please go there? It's the coolest store ever. They have toys and DVDs." Some of you will get that later. We made excuses and we got out of there as quickly as possible. But if I learned anything from that trip, it might be that my kids might not be quite ready to hit Vegas. But we'll see. As I was getting ready tonight, I was reminded of an event not too long ago. My daughter Scarlett, who's 11, going on 25, was getting ready to go to her first ever father-daughter dance. And it was a really big deal at our house. She'd clearly seen one too many princess movies because she had this perfect vision of what that night was gonna look like. And it was my job to execute it flawlessly. So we spent the entire day making sure she had the hair, the dress, the nails, everything just right. And as we were getting ready to leave, Scarlett didn't just want to go to the dance. She wanted the big reveal. She wanted to come down the stairs and my husband, her Prince Charming, to be standing there waiting with a very specific flower in his hand. And so as I'm putting the finishing touches on Scarlett and I'm talking to her, I'm telling her how proud we are of her, how thankful we are that God chose us to be her parents. I'm sharing what I think is this very special mother-daughter moment. When my daughter Scarlett reaches up, pats my shoulder as she sees the tears coming to my eyes, and in all of her love, she says, "It's okay, Mommy. One day you can be pretty too." Kids are great at preparing us for all of life's many challenges. But in all seriousness and all jokes aside, it is an absolute honor to stand up here tonight. It's not lost on me what a privilege it is to be able to take part in tonight's dinner. So thank you for allowing me to be here. For those of you who know anything about me and my background, you probably know that my dad was governor of Arkansas. And a presidential candidate, and also a Baptist pastor. And he plays the part perfectly. Even when he ran for president, our operation was much more church potluck than an organized campaign. And of course, from basically the moment that I was born, my dad was giving my brothers and I advice on religion and life, solicited or not. And one of the lessons that I've taken to heart is the importance of Israel and the Jewish people. After all, Judaism would have kept going just fine if there had never been Christianity. But Christianity literally would not exist without Judaism. When we in the conservative movement talk about Judeo-Christian values, we're not just tossing around another talking point. It's a phrase that speaks to the roots that we all share as Jews, as Christians, and as Americans. When I worked at the White House, I saw what it meant to put Judeo-Christian values into action. The administration came into office promising peace through strength in the Middle East, and that's what we delivered. I accompanied the president on his first trip overseas, which included a stop in Israel. We wanted to make a contrast with President Obama, whose first trip to the Middle East had included stops in Saudi Arabia and Egypt, but not Israel. Of course, the media criticized us from the beginning, all the way to the end. But we knew that the statement that we were making was that America will always stand with our friends in Israel, and it was one we were not going to apologize for. Later that year, the president made the decision to move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Israel's rightful capital in Jerusalem. And as I'm sure I know you all remember, the media went crazy then too. And if you trusted what they were saying, you'd believe that we had just caused Armageddon. They said Hamas and Iran would invade. They said Saudi Arabia would never forgive us. You would have thought we had just caused World War III. But none of those predictions turned out to be true. A few Arab states issued press releases, but that was about it. And America finally stood up for the truth, that Jerusalem has and always will be the capital of the Jewish nation, not just the modern state of Israel. Once that was over and nothing bad happened, we thought, you know, maybe the media is done making outlandish false predictions. But we were wrong. In 2018, the administration pulled out of President Obama's failed deal with Iran, which was a terrible idea from the beginning, trading pallets of cash in exchange for empty promises about nuclear weapons. Once again, the media melted down, and once again, they were wrong. In fact, by the end of the administration, the president was on the White House lawn signing the Abraham Accords. Peace through strength worked. We were strong and we were secure. Sadly, everything that the last administration built, this current administration has been busy tearing down. President Biden hamstrung our service members from the start, focusing the greatest military in the history of the world on distracting cultural war issues like vaccine mandates and DEI. Biden went out of his way to criticize Israel over internal government matters, calling duly elected representatives extreme. And around the world, he let our enemies know that America was on the retreat when he executed the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. And today, we are seeing the tragic consequences of his weakness. The single greatest loss of Jewish life in one day since the Holocaust. Women and children butchered by Hamas terrorists. The threat of the largest conflict in the Middle East since the Yom Kippur War. What President Biden's response? He just gave $100 million in aid to the Gaza Strip. He has bent over backwards to condemn both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, pretending that there are two sides in a war between good and evil when there certainly are not. Let me be clear. Islamophobia is not why rockets are raining down on Israeli homes and terrorists are killing innocent Israelis. Anti-Semitism is what's behind the current conflict, plain and simple. The sad thing is, President Biden is only a small part of the problem. We have members of the House of Representatives regurgitating Hamas talking points. And we have the Squad calling for a ceasefire, which really means calling for Israel not to defend itself. In cities across the Western world, we have left-wing protesters draping themselves in Palestinian flags and calling for the eradication of Israel, from the river to the sea. And it's absolutely heartbreaking and unacceptable. Just a few short years ago, things in the Middle East were looking bright, but today, not so much. So we find ourselves asking, what can we do as conservatives, as Christians, as Jews, as friends of Israel? And I think it starts by remembering why we're here in the first place, why Israel has a right and a need to exist in the first place, why this is not just a fight between Israel and terrorists, but a fight between what is good and what is evil. I want to share a story with you. wondering as they went through that place if she understood why he had brought her there, if she understood the importance of the things that she was seeing. They continued through, and she listened as the names of 1.5 million Jewish children murdered by the Nazis were read off one by one. And she was told that it takes months to get through the entire list. Again, they'd been there for more than an hour and the little girl hadn't said a word. The father was worried that he had put too much on her, had exposed her to something she wasn't prepared to take in. And they continued through Yad Vashem, and the little girl just gripping her father's hand tighter and tighter the deeper they went in. When they got to the end, the dad was watching his daughter, trying to understand if she got it, if she understood why he'd brought her there in the first place. They got to the last part of the museum, and there was a podium much like the one I'm standing behind now. Had a guest book sitting out. The little girl reached into her father's pocket, where she knew he always kept a pen. She scribbled down her name and her address, and then she paused over a section that was available for you to write in a comment. And the father was looking over his daughter's shoulder, wondering what she might write in that moment, in that space. And when she scribbled down in her childish 11-year-old scrawl, she wrote down words that neither he nor she will ever forget. Very simple. She wrote, "Why didn't somebody do something?" And in that moment, the father knew that she got it. He knew that his daughter understood why it is so important for good people to stand up in the face of evil. The reason I know that story so well and the impact it had is because that was my father and that was me that was walked through that museum. I will never I will never take for granted, nor will I ever forget what happens when good people don't stand up. In the battle between good and evil, each of us can be the somebodies who do something. I know that every person in this room will be those somebodies. I know that the entire conservative movement, no matter their faith, no matter their background, stand with each of you and the Jewish people. With God as our witness, the good news is we know how the story ends. The enemy will be defeated and good will always prevail in the end. Let us leave tonight not saddened by the events, but encouraged to defeat the evil that exists in this world and never stop until it is put out. Thank you for letting me be here tonight. Thank you for the courageous stand that you take. May God always bless Israel and the United States of America. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senator Lindsey Graham.
Thank you. Well, the quality of speakers had just gone down after following that. So, on behalf of the wine industry, I want to thank God for creating Shabbat. I've had like one too many glasses. I got two videos I want to show you. I'm your last speaker. I'm the only thing between you and the bar. I'll promise to try to be a little bit brief. Can you show two videos? I want to show you two videos, and I'll tell you why I'm showing.
Israel is at war, an invasion by Hamas, the deadliest attack in that country's history.
The images that we're seeing, children kidnapped, it's horrifying.
Baby cribs thrown to the side, families completely gunned down in their beds.
Like you, my heart breaks and my stomach churns as I watch this barbaric attack by Hamas on our friends in Israel. Children ripped from their parents, young people in the prime of their lives massacred, dozens of U.S. citizens killed and captured. Hamas and the Iranian Ayatollah are religious fanatics. We must stand with Israel in every way and protect ourselves, secure our border, upgrade our defenses. Here's how you can help. God bless.
Your generosity directly aids families, children, and the elderly in Israel. Act now and make a difference.
I'm Lindsey Graham, and I approve this message.
Citizen of Gaza, all this could have been yours. A paradise of sea and desert. In 2005, Israel left Gaza. We left you whole settlements, greenhouses, public buildings. Just take the keys and come. You received billions of dollars to start a new and good and independent life for your citizens. You were able to build cities for glory, with beautiful parks and great beaches. You could learn from us how to farm in the desert. We would help, support. We would work together for a common future. The borders with us and with Egypt were open. You could be a small and strong economic and touristic power. Singapore did it. Hong Kong did it. But you chose to direct the money for terrorism. Build a network of war tunnels. Planning terrorist attacks. Educate your children to kill. Fire missiles on our cities. Sending suicide bombers. Instead of helping your citizens build a life. You chose to kill innocent people. Murder elderly, children, babies. Kidnap, rape, burn. You brought the destruction of Gaza on yourselves. Instead of heaven. With your own hands. You created hell.
All right. So, here's my point. The bodies are not even buried in Israel, and the UN has called for a ceasefire. Did you hear what I just said? We cannot let this happen. Let me tell you when there will be a ceasefire. When Hamas ceases to exist. That's when there will be a ceasefire. The most tone-deaf organization in the history of the world is the United Nations. I don't want to hear any more stand with Israel. I want to hear stand with Israel without apology. We have nothing to apologize for. So the reason I played the videos is that we're going to be in a struggle to make sure Israel has the time and space to destroy Hamas. This is where the RJC becomes important. This is where all of us become important. I went to Israel the first time in 1995 with Sheldon and Miriam. And I got a very unbiased, balanced view of what Israel stands for. I didn't know what a Zionist was, but after the trip, I did. So, Miriam, I want to thank you for all you've done for the state of Israel, for our country, We miss Sheldon. We love you. So, folks, the RJC was created for a moment like this. You're trying to elect Republicans, but that's not the job at hand in the short term. The job at hand is to make sure that we give voice to a cause that cannot be compromised. 3 goals: destroy Hamas to make sure they never attack Israeli children again. Convince the world that Hamas is not helping the Palestinians. Hamas wants to kill the Jews. And if you don't believe me, listen to them. I ran the commercial tonight in South Carolina to remind people what happened on October the 7th. And to not let them forget who the bad guy is. Now, I'm a Baptist. There are a lot of us where I live. The strongest supporter of the state of Israel in the United States are evangelical Christians. We drink, but we lie about it, so that's the big difference. My dad had a liquor store, so I can tell you that for sure. So the main thing that you need to understand about people like me, what makes you who you are is what you learn as a child. Do you agree with that? How you're raised, what your values are. From the time I was this high, and I didn't get much taller, I'm right here now, I was told in my church that God blesses those who bless Israel. I was told in my church that the Jewish people were the chosen ones by God Almighty. Well, if it's good enough for God, it's good enough for me. And the reason that people are so supportive of Israel where I live is because how they get their news. If you went to college in this country, you would believe Israel's the bad guy, right? Because that's all you hear. If you got your news from the Bible, you would know Israel's the good guy. And that's where my people get their news. That and Mark Levine. You're somewhere in Revelations. I'm just not sure which horse you are. So, number one, the goal is to not let Biden get weak-kneed, to push back against the UN and any other force in American politics that wants to limit the operations that must occur to destroy Hamas. You cannot do this from the air. You can only destroy a terrorist organization by getting in on the ground, and that started tonight. So here's my belief. Whatever it takes, as long as it takes, is what Israel will be allowed to do. I'm urging the people here with means to create some commercials to brand Hamas as ISIS, because that's who they are. Most Americans understand what ISIS is up to. Most Americans understand what ISIS would do to their families if they could. What most Americans don't understand, Hamas is worse. I got back from Israel Tuesday. My body is somewhere over Iceland about right now. What I saw at the Ministry of Defense, I have not slept well since then. I saw things that I did not think were possible by any human being. I saw the Nazis were outdone by Hamas. Here's the difference. The Nazis tried to hide their crimes. Hamas wants you to see what they did. Why? To intimidate you.
to destroy the reconciliation process between Saudi Arabia and Israel. I believe that with all my heart. That if you think Iran learned about the attack by Hamas from reading the newspaper or watching the TV, you should not be allowed to drive anywhere in America. There is no Hamas. There is no Hezbollah without Iran. Do you agree with that? The great Satan of the world is not Israel, it's not the United States, it's the Ayatollah in Iran. He's the great Satan. So I want to make sure that the American people know that Israel must destroy Hamas, and any effort to short of destruction would be a nightmare for America, because they would kill everybody in this room if they could get here. We got to make it real to the American people that every group who wants to destroy Israel also wants to destroy you. We have a chance here to convince the American people that Iran is not a normal country. Do you think Iran is a normal country? We have an opportunity here to prove to the American people that Iran is the source of evil in the Mideast, that they do not seek peace, they seek destruction of the state of Israel. They seek to purify Islam in their own image and to come after the infidel. That's me. Iran, when this is over, should be seen by every American as the last group of people you'd want to give $1 to. Mark, we have a chance here to make it impossible for any president in the future to sit down with the Iranian Ayatollah and talk about giving them money. You know what I learned in South Carolina? My dad owned a liquor store, a beer joint, and a pool room. You know what I learned in the pool room? If somebody wants to cut your throat, do not buy them a knife. We have given billions of dollars to the Ayatollah to build up Hamas and Hezbollah. They have taken the pipes that were laid to provide water and sewage treatment for the Palestinian people in Gaza to make rockets out of the pipes. The first thing you got to understand in a negotiation is who is on the other side and what do they want. Can I give them some of the things they're asking for, in return get something that I want? That's called negotiation. You cannot give the person on the other side of the table anything when they want to kill you. You have to stop them before it's too late. I believe, why now? It's been planned, Mark, you're right, for a year or two, but why now? The nightmare for the Ayatollah, in my opinion, is for Saudi Arabia and Israel to reconcile, to build on the Abraham Accords that President Trump created, to have the Arab world move to the light with the one and only Jewish state, leaving Iran behind. I think that's why this was done now. And I'm convinced it was done in such a brutal fashion to make sure Israel had to go in to Gaza. And the bet is that the world will turn on Israel pretty soon, and the clock will run out, and the end of Saudi-Israeli reconciliation will be upon us. That's what I believe. I want to make sure Iran loses. So here's what we got to do. I've been to Saudi Arabia 3 times in the last 90 days. I'm going back. I was pretty tough on the regime, pretty tough. They bought $38 billion of jets made by Boeing in South Carolina, and I was less tough. Why? Not because they bought the planes. Whether you believe it or not, I do. I think MBS, the Crown Prince, is trying to change his country. I think he's spending a lot of money to modernize Saudi Arabia. And I think he knows he'll never get his money back unless people see Saudi Arabia different than they do now. Does that make sense to you? So, Mark, this is important. I spent 3 hours with the man. And I said, thank you for buying the jets. Hope you buy some more. But the best thing you could do to change the image of your country is to seek peace with the state of Israel. That is the path we were on. The question, has this brutal, savage attack against the state of Israel destroyed the march to peace? I hope not. I hope that all the people that were killed did not die in vain. We owe it to them and their memory to make sure that Israel has the time and space to end the terror called Hamas. We owe it to them to convince the world that Iran is a regime made up of religious Nazis, not good people trying to seek a better life. We owe it to them to end the Arab-Israeli conflict and march the region toward the light. Here's the question for all of us. How can it be that within 80 years of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, that grandchildren of Holocaust survivors and Holocaust survivors themselves were killed by terrorists simply because they were Jewish? How can it be that we let that happen within one person's lifetime? There are people in Israel that survived the Holocaust that died at the hands of Hamas in Israel. Let me tell you how that can be. We're making the same mistakes in 2023 that we made in the 30s. That's exactly how this happened. We're all Republicans, and if you're not, you need to leave now. Our party needs to do some soul searching. If I hear any more the argument we can let Putin invade Ukraine and get away with it and it won't matter to us, that's bullshit. He will keep going until somebody stops him. And if you don't believe me, just listen to him. What I can't get over is after World War II, we don't understand that when people say death to America, death to Israel, they actually mean it. Hitler wrote a book, and nobody believed what he wrote. Look at what comes out of Iran every day, Mark. They mean this stuff. So wake up, America. Isolationism is a siren song that never works. Here's what I can tell you. When they're coming after the Jews in Germany, they're eventually going to come after you. When they kill somebody because of their faith, you're next. This is a lesson to be learned. You know why they give wars numbers? We make the same damn mistakes over and over. We can't afford to make any more mistakes. The state of Israel has its back against the wall. There's enough rocket power in the hands of Hezbollah to do great damage to the one and only Jewish state. So I want to, in case they're watching in Iran tonight, here's what I want you to know. If you escalate this conflict, unleash Hamas in the north on Israel, if you attack one more American, kill one American soldier, we're going to blow you off the map. We're going to destroy your oil fields. You will be out of the oil business. I pray that this nightmare in Iran ends I pray for the destruction of this regime. I pray for the freedom that could be had by the Iranian people. I pray that the world will wake up and understand what's going on. They pulled a girl off a bus yesterday in Iran, 16 years old. She didn't have the right headscarf on. They beat her and she is brain dead. You want to give that guy money? I've been coming here a long time, and I will come back because it's fun. I've never been here at a more important moment than right now. We have a chance to change the course of history. If America does not change the way we look at the world will get worse. Isolationism and appeasement led us to this day. Not understanding that Hamas does not want a two-state solution, they want a one-state solution. I think for here on out, the people of Israel will never make that mistake again. Now I'm going to end with this. I got briefed by the defense minister, and there was a young guy who was a two-star general, and he watches Fox, so he knows me. And he said, Senator Graham, we failed. And he started crying, and I started crying. He's the IDF guy. We failed. I failed my people. I said, stop. You're not the only country to miss a threat. Pearl Harbor, 9/11. It happens. Here's what failing is. Not doing the right thing after you make a mistake. Here's the right thing to do. Kill every last one of them. That's what it takes to make Israel safe. That's what you need to do. That's what it takes. So I told this young man, you're not going to fail. America has your back. I took 10 United States senators to Israel this Tuesday. 5 R's and 5 D's. We're all Republicans here, but we need to be Americans now, right? We need to be good people, decent people. So tomorrow you're going to have a tough choice. The Republican Party has an embarrassment of riches. Miriam, we have so many good people running at the same time. Nikki Haley is from South Carolina. Tim Scott is from South Carolina. I am the squish in my state. I'm from South Carolina. We have a group of people seeking the Republican nomination that are unbelievably talented. Choose wisely. And we have Donald Trump, who will be here tomorrow. He called me this morning and says, where are you? I said, I'm in Las Vegas. He says, I'm coming to Las Vegas. I said, I know. I want to say one thing about Trump. He's a handful. But all the bad guys are scared of him, and I'm glad of that. So, what happened with me and Trump? I was one of the 29 people that ran for president in 2016. If you don't remember that, it's not your fault. I didn't last very long. I hated Trump. I thought he was a complete asshole. So, I got to know the guy. We play a lot of golf together. I've actually come to like him. You know what we have in common? I like him and he likes him. It's good to laugh. You got great choices tomorrow. Our party is strong. Our party has a bright future. We have so many good young people wanting to be in the House and the Senate. I feel really good about 2024. We just got to turn out. We got to vote as quick as we can, as legally as often as you can. And win an election we can't afford to lose. But I want to leave here tonight with a thought. God, has a vote in this. God has Israel's back. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO of the Republican Jewish Coalition, Matt Brooks.
Who's the one person clapping? Where is that? It's not even my wife either. That's what's shocking. Good evening, everybody. Wow, what a night. And it's just a precursor. Shh, I'll be quick. It's just a precursor to what we have coming tomorrow, when we will see on this very stage tomorrow morning the next president of the United States. As we planned for this event, the events of October 7th occurred. And amazingly, I got some phone calls from people and said, are you still going to be having the summit in Las Vegas? They said, Israel is under attack. Our hostages are being held. Anti-Semitism is running rampant in the streets of America. How can we all come together and meet? And I said, we are absolutely having this conference, and I will tell you why. It is precisely because Israel is under attack. It is precisely because our hostages are being held. And it's precisely because anti-Semitism is running rampant in the streets of America that we are here together to show our solidarity, to show our resolve, to show that we will not bow or be broken, but we will thrive and succeed, and we will win. And so you are going to see the entire leadership of the Republican Party together with us, standing shoulder to shoulder in solidarity. It is not insignificant that the new Speaker of the House, in his very first public event, is flying to Las Vegas tomorrow night to speak to this group. It is not insignificant that we have every major presidential candidate running, flying to Las Vegas to speak to this group tomorrow. It is a testament to their commitment to the Jewish community, and obviously with the exception of the speaker, who wasn't speaker 24 hours ago. Literally every single person you saw in the program tonight, everybody you're going to see tomorrow, everybody you're going to see on Sunday, confirmed and accepted and was committed to coming before October 7th. This didn't just happen on October 7th where they all said they want to come to the RJC. They wanted to come to the RJC beforehand. And it's really a testament to them. It's a testament to where our party is, and it's a testament to how this organization has grown and thrived and the impact that we have and why everybody wants to be here. Now, I turn your attention to the back of the room because there are people who aren't here. You will see that table that is illuminated, that is empty. That is a table in which we remember the hostages who are held, who can't be with us tonight, who are with us in this room in spirit, in our hearts and our minds. And while they are not sitting there, they are sitting here with us, and we wish a speedy and a safe return, and we think of them and our hearts break. And so tomorrow night there will be a table for them as well. And when we gather tomorrow, obviously we are in a very heightened security profile right now. The U.S. Secret Service will be here. We'll be starting the screening process beginning at 7 o'clock a.m. You really should plan to be here early because it's going to take a while to get everybody through. The first speaker is at 9 a.m. So we want to make sure everybody is in the room to hear all of the speakers and get through security. Please bring with you as little as possible. No bags, no knapsacks, no backpacks. as light as you could travel. That'll make the screening and security process that much easier. It's going to be an incredible day tomorrow. Shabbat services are at 6:45. Is that correct, Elliot? 6:45 a.m. in the prayer room. Breakfast will be served. So with that, enjoy tonight. Go get some sleep. Thank you so much for everything. Am Yisrael Chai.